A good afternoon to you, and I want to believe that you are fine as I am. Today is our day to go through our first topic through in public health nutrition. I want to believe that you're engaged in getting through the course outline, familiarizing with it, and at least what is expected of you, and you went through the introduction that I put for you last week for you to go through and just have an overview of the expectation through this course. And I want to believe that you are now okay. Now, in our first topic, today we want to look at public health nutrition in terms of definition, importance, public health nutrition, and its objectives. So with this introductory part of the course, I want to believe that you have an idea of what public health is, or you've had something about it. It's a general term, yes, but then maybe there could be some different meanings tied to it as we shall unpackage through this introductory topic. Now, as an introduction to this topic, you find that with this lesson, it will help you to learn about the basic definition and concept of public health nutrition, why it is important to know about public nutrition and objectives of public health nutrition as a discipline. And the objectives are that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to define public health. That is, be able to also define several other terms that are applied in this discipline. And then you should be able to describe the benefits of public health nutrition knowledge. And thirdly, you should be able to explain the objectives of public health nutrition. And with this, it just made now the first objectives in terms of definition of some terms. Before we find the word public health nutrition, there is a word there. Public, of course, to a broader extent, just means something that is available to everyone, public, to the public. Public, it's something open, it's something that is visible, it's something that is accessible to many other people, not just one person. Private is something that is accessible to one person or maybe very few selected. Now with nutrition, of course, you understand it's the science of nutrients, that study of the process by which there's ingestion, there's digestion, there's absorption, and there's assimilation or utilization of nutrients, then eventually excretion of the waste matter. That defines for us nutrition. Then health in itself. What is health? Health, according to the World Health Organization, is a complete state of physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. What would this mean? This means that for you to say that someone is healthy is not just about someone not having signs of sickness, signs and symptoms. Like, the normal signs about sickness that like headache, pains here and there, like maybe stomach pains, back pains or backaches, maybe pains in the legs, arms, pains in the eyes. Vomiting is a sign, nausea is a sign of a disease. Sometimes you have what else? Yeah, whatever you thought of is right. Now, infirmity ni ulemavu, as in having a deformity of the body. You are missing out on one finger or several, or one leg is shorter than the other. Maybe there's something that happened that the bone didn't form well. That those that have like the hunchbacks, whereby the back, the spinal cord didn't close up well in connection with the brain. So there's something that got swollen on the back, maybe blind or deaf. That is an infirmity. And so we say that in terms of health, according to the WHO, it is a complete what? State of physical, social. Physical is now that one that we're mentioning. Maybe you're okay, yes, physically. You're not ill, you don't have an infirmity. But mentally, probably you're very stressed out, you're very frustrated, you're very unsettled, you're very frantic, you're very resentful, and you're not just okay. That is why when we meet people who are mad, wazimu, you sit there and you play with them or joke with them or want to have company with them? Rarely do we do that unless maybe it's just a calling. But usually what you people really keep off because you never know this person will pick a big stone and throw it at you. You never know what this person will do to you, and most of the time they're carrying around sacks that are full of that. So why do we call them wendawazimu? It's because they cannot reason as we do. They cannot reason logically. They cannot reason as a normal human being. Something that moves within their brain system, within the mental system. So even for us, when you find yourself stressed out, when you're so depressed, with depression and stress and those frustrations, they're likely to lead you to other lifestyle conditions like ulcers. They're likely to lead you to diabetes, to cancer. The list is long. So that's the aspect of mental and social. Again, that people who don't socialize with others, they don't share, they don't hang out, they don't even speak, they don't want to share knowledge with other people, like assuming that the discussion group and you're many, maybe at your workplace, or there's some teamwork that you've been assigned. There are people who don't like working as a team. They want to do things by themselves. They're like lone rangers. Such like you see, we usually say these are socially unhealthy, they're antisocial. So that means they're not complete in terms of health, because the definition has to have the physical, the social, the mental, and the spiritual well-being. Again, there's a study that was done some time back in the US, and it was, I think, about 6 years ago, and it was established that people who go to church, who pray and read the word of God more, okay, myself, I'm a Christian. Maybe that literature touched me in that manner. Such people were less stressed compared to those who are not praying or not going to church, anti-church people. So what will that point to? That when we go to church, you get encouragement. You go there, you could be downcast, you are frustrated, you feel like this world is coming to an end, you feel like your world, nothing is working in your world, nothing is moving. But as you go to church, the pastor preaches there, encourages you, tells you, what, your tomorrow will be greater than your today. And you get hope, you get that hope, that flicker of hope, even however small it may seem, keeps you going for the rest of that weekend, less stressed out. You get that hope, you get encouraged. So what will this mean for us? This means that it's an entire aspect, a whole aspect. So if you're socially healthy but mentally unhealthy, or spiritually unhealthy, yet other aspects you're healthy, we say that you are still unhealthy all round, because it should be a complete state. I hope you've understood on that aspect of health. Now, the definition of public health basically refers to what organized community efforts aimed at the prevention of disease and promotion of health. Organized community efforts aimed at the prevention of disease and promotion of health. So basically, public health is interested in preventive measures that would help in alleviating diseases and suffering amongst populations, amongst communities, and also just helping people to do what? Promote good health amongst them. What will this mean? Like right now, we are having the corona crisis, and maybe it is something we have to choose to live with it, because it seems it's not ending. So what will that mean? You find that from the public health sector within the Ministry of Health, we're being reminded of what to do. That is about prevention measures. We are being reminded that every time, wash your hands, every time sneeze in your elbow, cough in your elbow, so that that doesn't go and stick on your hands. Every time we are reminded social distancing, as in keep distance, don't stay so close to people, put on masks. We are given the preventive measures that we don't catch this disease. About promotion is like we are being reminded that, remember, even as you do these preventive actions, do it as part of your lifestyle as now, and then ensure that you eat a nutritious diet, a balanced diet, and more so do the citrus fruits, which usually actually boost the immune system, promote quick healing. So they are organized community efforts. Like you don't just wake up and do it, but you plan in a certain way to handle something and work it out. It is also said that it's the art and science of preventing disease, promoting health, and prolonging life through organized efforts of society. So remember, this thing will involve the experts in terms of community health like you, who is going to be an expert, and the community itself. Remember, the community always has solutions to problems. They know. They may not really have the solutions per se, but they have at least ideas that could lead to those solutions. They know their issues and they know how to handle them. So we're saying that it's the art and science of preventing disease, promoting health, and also prolonging life through organized efforts. In addition, it's also the process of mobilizing the local, state, national, and international resources to resolve the major health problems affecting communities. Like right now about Corona, there's been a lot of resource mobilization, especially in terms of money, in terms of foodstuffs, in terms of the masks, the equipment that are needed to help curb these scourge. So that is an area of public health, but there's a lot of mobilization in terms of locally, you find communities locally are coming up, the landlords are coming up to help their own tenants, churches are coming up to help their own congregations, or there are other pastors within their ministries or out there who could be in need of food. About the state, we have seen many other CEOs, people with different foundations and companies, the banks giving donations, We've seen individuals taking pay cuts so as to help alleviate this condition by mobilization of other resources that could be in need. Now, public health nutrition focuses on the promotion of good health through nutrition and the primary prevention of nutrition-related illnesses in the population. So remember, its focus is more about the preventive and the promotive aspect of health. So again, it focuses on the promotion of good health through nutrition and primary prevention of nutrition-related illnesses in the population. So about nutrition, remember, it's through the public health that most activities that are related to promoting good nutrition are done. For example, vitamin A supplementation, and in case there any immunizations that have not been done, it is done by the public health officers in conjunction with other health ministry workers, so that they get to the public, get to the communities, and immunize children who've not been vaccinated. Sometimes you have the mass vaccination that is announced by a government, so that able to curb a certain illness that is upcoming amongst the communities. So with that, you'll find that public health is very crucial in such an area. And the nutrition-related illnesses are like, especially the undernutrition, the kwashiorkor, the marasmus, pellagra. We do have iron deficiency anemia. We do have iodine deficiency, and the list is long. So even in Kenya, we are still grappling with all this. Remember, in Kenya, we are still grappling. We have many conditions that are public health concern, including some nutrition-related illnesses. We have the double burden of malnutrition, whereby, remember, malnutrition doesn't just mean the undernutrition, it means both overnutrition and undernutrition. So you'll find that as a government, it's still fighting with the overnutrition related diseases like diabetes, we have cancer, and the list is growing by the year. And nutrition, still have kwashiorkor, we have marasmus, we do have the iron deficiency anemia, we do have the vitamin A deficiency, we have the iron deficiency. So there has to be awareness, and it's best done by public health. So when we public health officers, so when we look at public health nutrition, it is basically the art and science of promoting population health status via sustainable improvements in the food and nutrition system, based upon public health principles that set complex and collaborative activities, ecological and perspective, and intersectoral in scope, including environmental, educational, economic, technical, and legislative measures. So basically, with public health nutrition now in itself, it helps to do what it's the art and science of promoting population. Remember, we said anything to do with public health, it refers to organized, means there has to be organization, there has to be stepwise procedures, there has to be kind of things that have been put in place, like systematically. It has to be a systematic way of handling things. So here it's more about sustainable improvements in the food and nutrition system. Now, the term public nutrition has been defined as a new field encompassing the range of factors known as influence nutrition in populations, including diet and health, social, cultural, and behavioral factors, and the economic and political context. Like public health, public nutrition would also focus on problem solving in a real world setting, making this definition an applied field of study whose success is measured in terms of effectiveness in improving nutrition situations. So this is a new concept kinda that has come into place. It has been there, but because of the rising emerging issues, the emerging needs in terms of nutrition, in terms of health, we find that this is a new field that has come up that has encompassed a range of factors that are known to influence nutrition in population, such as diet and health. Remember issues with diet. Just look at your community around you. What are the foods that are commonly sold, even right now during the COVID era? What foods are commonly sold around you? You'll find mostly we have carbohydrates. We do have the mandazi, we have the githeri. Of course, githeri is a bit nutritious because it has some protein, and if it's been fried, it has some fat, which is much better. But we do have mostly the chips muitu, those chips that are sold by the roadside. We do have what? The karai, we have bajia, we do have what else? The sausages, the smokies, they're always beckoning us and telling us, come buy me, come make me. They're all over. And most of the time, we are making our children get used to eating such. So that is a health concern, because when children keep eating those carbohydrates, when will they consume proteins? You find in some communities, someone rare chicken, instead of having those eggs that have been laid by the chicken, cooked and consumed by the family or the children, you find that the mother goes to sell the egg and then buys mandazi. Have you experienced that? It's that we are doing a lot of carbohydrates rather than proteins, and that is likely bring about the protein energy malnutrition, and those diseases are basically core. So public health nutrition focuses basically on the promotion of good health through nutrition and the primary prevention of details and population, and emphasis of the maintenance of wellness in the whole population. So once the entire population to be in good health, it's not just about being there, you're not having any symptoms or anything, but you've said the wholesome part of you, the wholesome package of you, being mentally, socially, physically, spiritually sound. Yeah, that is why during this COVID era, we've seen many people coming up, many pastors, many spiritual leaders coming up and like saying, no, allow us even to do recording so that our people can be able to hear the word of God, because we need encouragement, So it has to be wholesome. Public nutrition focuses on the promotion of good health through nutrition and physical activity, and in the prevention of related illnesses in the population. So remember, with public health, its focus is on preventive and promoting. I believe we are together. And this, you'll find that it will focus on the promotion of good health through nutrition and physical activity. So the nutritional aspect, and remember, food doesn't work. It doesn't bring the best results alone. There has to be the physical activity whereby if you're physically inactive and you're feeding, you are loading out of energies on you. So the energy spent is not equivalent to energy that you take. Eventually you're going to start getting overweight and then obese, grade 1, 2, 3, diseases that like such weight start coming in, they set in the diabetes, the cancers, that is not good. So public would want to. So again, the practice of public nutrition includes an array of services and activities to ensure conditions in which people can achieve and maintain nutritional health, including surveillance and monitoring. Yeah, surveillance and monitoring, nutrition-related health status and risk factors, community or population-based assessments and program planning and evaluation, leadership in community population intervention that collaborate across disciplines, etc. So, in a nutshell, we're trying to talk about many things that encompass public health nutrition in terms of food, how we can preserve, how we can ensure that we're eating healthy diets, how we can ensure that we mobilize communities, how we can ensure issues to do with hygiene, and eventually promote good health and prevent disease so that we can prolong the life of our population. That is the major objective, the major aim of public health, so that we can be able to have prolonged life of our population according to the WHO. So what problems are related with public health nutrition? Are there any problems you've ever heard of? Yes, there are quite a number. And what are the problems related to inadequate quantity and quality of a habitual diet? Remember, availability of food is not an issue. We talk about food security. That is one concept in terms of nutrition. We have food security, whereby there has to be an ability for people to access food, accessibility. You could have money, but the food is not available in the market. But the food could be plenty in the market, but you don't have money. You can't access it. You can't have it and actually utilize it. That is what we call accessibility. So issues about availability of food, accessibility, and utilization, is very crucial in terms of food and in terms of good nutrition for individuals and communities or families. So we have quite still a number of problems whereby we have inadequate quantity and quality. So you could have, yes, access to that food you buy, but it is not as much. Remember, we're having issues with land in several parts of our country. People, different individuals are having those challenges, so they cannot be able to grow enough food for themselves, for their families. So quantity and quality. Quality is very crucial because you can have food, yes, you can buy it, but then maybe it's spoiled, it's already gone bad. That is of poor quality, So you find people just eat chakula bora, which is not good. Now, problems related to excessive intake of quantity of the habitual diet and food additives and supplements. Right now, we've been in an, I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, but there's a time that people are so mad about supplements. Like, it was almost like a fad. You feel if you are lacking maybe a certain nutrient in your body, or you've been prescribed by a doctor that or biochemical test of blood has been done, and as it has been run, it has been found out that maybe your carb levels are low, so you need to be on a supplement. So you find people taking supplements day and night without consuming actual food. Supplements, the way the name says, are supplements. They're supposed to supplement the normal diet. It should never replace the diet. Okay, so you'll find that it's an issue, it's a problem, it's an issue of concern to public health nutrition, because the people who are using excess in terms of supplements instead of just utilizing them at the point of need and letting them be. And even with the quality and quantity of the diet, some people overdo. Sometimes have been added erroneously in foods, or in excesses, and like bread, for example, you'll find there's some brands of bread that are sold as brown bread. But when you you open those slices of bread, it is basically food color brown. It's basically food color that has been added in this bread to make it brown. But basically, how brown bread should look like is that they should have fibers in them, so that the brown bread should actually mean it's like the original wheat. It's the unprocessed bread. It's the unprocessed flour to make this bread. So that's going on. So we need to be careful every time we go to bed. Check if it has those rough aspects, those rough edges, those fibers, to ensure that that brown bread is truly a whole bread that will give you complex carbohydrates. Another problem is food safety, problems that affect the health and function of a large percent of the general population. So with food safety problems, it's more about food hygiene, of which it's a unit that we shall learn later on when you get to your 4th semester. That has aspects to do with how we take care of our food, because food should be covered, food should be cooked thoroughly, fruits should be washed thoroughly before being consumed. Yeah, one should ensure that you take care of your hands, you wash them with soap and water before handling food, especially salads. Yeah, so issues with food safety still are concerned because there are people who don't do it. But like this season of COVID, I think people, especially men, usually have a problem with washing. I don't know what happened with them. Sijui walikosana na maji wapi. I don't know. But in a way, right now people have adopted a new lifestyle. At least there's more of hand washing that is ongoing, and that is good. So it should be a habit that should come even post-COVID. So food safety, problems that affect the health and function of a large percentage of the general population. So it's still a concern. Another concern is nutrition problems prevented or ameliorated by identification of risk factors and early detection of screening when feasible, in contrast to only specific nutrient treatment. Remember, I mentioned about like the biochemical tests that are run. Usually biochemical are the tests of the body fluids, like it could be tissues, but mostly fluids like the saliva, urine, blood, So when blood has been tested and probably you're lacking some nutrients, or your urine has shown that there are some several deposits of maybe protein, calcium, there's a lot of excretion. There has to be a way in which one has to be treated before something goes, especially like the kidney diseases and kidney failures before it becomes chronic. So sometimes there's still no way for us to identify that early, so that you find people finding themselves sick in the late stages where nothing else can be done. Then another problem is environmental and lifestyle risk factors, whereby we are having the global warming, having many issues with our lifestyle changes, whereby we want to easily adopt to having rides. And right now we have so many borders, those motorbikes that are ready to pick us and drop us right at our doors, But it's important to exercise physical activity. Most of us have let go that. We are feeling so lazy. You'd rather spend that 30 bob, that 50 bob, that 100 bob than walking that distance of 20 minutes or 15 minutes. So we are quite unfair to our bodies, and with these risk factors of physical inactivity, they predispose us to the lifestyle conditions like cancers, like diabetes, and the list goes on. Then we lastly have a problem of global warming, as well as natural disasters like flooding, drought, civil strife. We just came from a season where we had droughts. We find communities were lacking water, they have no food, problems until even school children cannot go to school because they have to work with the herds in those herding communities. They have to go with herds in far off places so as to help the herd, their cattle, or the food, get some water, get some majanis, some vegetation somewhere to consume. After that, we've come to flooding, and we're seeing close to 200 lives, or 200. I'm not really updated on the last report, but the last time I checked, it was over 150 lives that had been lost because of floods, and it will never be the case. Many homes have been displaced. Many thousands of people have been displaced because of floods. And remember, when you have anything to do with floodings, these natural disasters, people become nutritionally vulnerable. They're not able to access food or nutritious food in terms of quantity, in terms of quality, it makes them be nutritionally at risk. So why is it important to know about public health nutrition? One, it's because adequate nutrition for all is the goal. It's important that every individual has access to adequate nutrition. So that means we have adequate and inadequate. What will inadequate mean? It will mean there is less quantity and also poor quality of the foods that are consumed by individuals. They are not nutritious. They are not, maybe they're not fit even for human consumption. People are just eating for the sake of it so as to keep living. So adequate food and balanced nutrient intake are basic necessities for life, health and well-being, and nutrition affects health from conception to old age. So adequate nutrition is especially important in periods of rapid growth and development, and this period is the one that we call the period of fast growth spurt, basically in childhood, usually after about 5 years, and later on in adolescence, that is usually very predominant. So poor nutrition during pregnancy, infancy, childhood, and adolescence can mean stunted physical, mental, and social development with lifelong consequences. That maybe gives us a nutshell of lifespan nutrition from conception up to adulthood. But basically, from the time of pregnancy, when a woman is pregnant and is not able to feed healthily, she will give birth to a child who was not nutritionally adequately taken care of, and this child may be stunted, grow while stunted. This child may be very malnourished in terms of being underweight. The child may be born as a premature or a preterm, many things that will affect the same. Infancy between 1 year, okay, very crucial, and that period between 1 year to 2 years, we usually say it's the 1,000 days. That is very important to window period for children, because if there's any stunting that happens during this stage, it can never be reversed. It's very difficult to reverse it. So it's crucial. Remember, it's the period of first growth spurt, the childhood, and then adolescence. Remember, in adolescence, we have young girls who start menstruating maybe at the age of around 12, 13 there. We have boys whose other body body organs start enlarging. They keep growing, you know, they start deepening their voices. At this age, the girls and boys need more nutrients compared to what they were consuming when they were children. So we need to increase with that, with what they need, and supply the adequate nutrition to them. If they miss out, they're likely maybe to be stunted in one way or another. They're likely to be malnourished in one way or another. And for girls, mostly they need iron because of the menses that they start having. The boys, because of sperm production, they need more of the zinc, you know, and other proteins. So we need to ensure that they are fed well. Chronic dietary deficiency, excess or imbalance predisposes the individuals to or aggravates a spectrum of disease conditions and the quality and life. So if there is a lot of dietary deficiency, chronic means for a long period of time, over a long period of time. Acute means within a very short period of time. So we are saying that in case there's a chronic dietary deficiency and also excess or imbalance of nutrients, it could dispose the individuals to a large spectrum of disease conditions, and that will be bad because it could expose them to these diseases the entire of their life, or affect even quality and the length of that life. Maybe we could now look at the dietary factors that are associated with 5 of the 10 leading causes of death. And one of them is the coronary heart disease, some type of cancers, stroke, non-insulin dependent diabetes, that is diabetes type 2. Basically, in adults, they have atherosclerosis that is actually associated with the arteries. And these ones are associated with dietary factors. Dietary excesses, imbalance, contribute to the development of these diseases. So especially the excesses. When you do a lot of excesses, especially in terms of fats, in terms of carbohydrates, they're likely to predispose us to this. And currently, attention is being focused on total quality or caloric intake, amount and type of fat that we use, vitamins such as folic acid and antioxidants of vitamin A, C, and E, minerals such as calcium, and other nutritive substances such as fiber and flavonoids. So that tells us that even during this time, the dietary factors are associated with this. You'll find that caloric intake is like the entire calories, the energy amount that people consume. Remember when we talked about quantity and quality, you'll find that there's a specific quantity that different ages need in terms of energy. For example, you'll find that people who are adults, they need at least 2,200 kilocalories on average. And maybe now those adults who do heavy jobs, heavy manual jobs, like maybe construction of the roads, buildings, you know, those kind of jobs, welding or carrying heavy machinery, carrying sacks in maybe go down, such like, those ones will need at least 2,800 kilocalories. But for us who do the normal jobs, normal jobs like mopping the house, you know, cleaning the compounds, washing clothes, that's a bit minimal. We don't need a lot of energy. But then whatever you do, if it's not that manual, it's not manic, it doesn't require a lot of energy, you wouldn't need a lot of energy. And that informs us that if we miss out on this adequate intake, we may be unhealthy. And again, if we take excess and you're not spending it, we may end up with the overnutrition related diseases. The amount of fat and type that we use, remember that we have fats and oils that make up lipids. So with the lipids that we use in our diet, it's important that we just use small amounts, because remember, for every 1 gram of fat that you use, it yields 9 kilocalories. Low calories is not energy present in our food. So for every 1 gram of fat you get, it yields 1 gram of fat yields 10 kilocalories. 1 gram of carbohydrate and 1 gram of protein each yields 4 kilocalories. And those people who take alcohol, 1 gram yields 7 kilocalories. That is why you find that if you consume a lot of carbohydrates or fats and then alcohol, it's likely that you have a yeah. Why? Because there is a lot of concentration of fat. Because remember, when fat has been broken down and the excess will be stored in the adipose tissues, which is next to the skin. Usually carbohydrates and excesses are stored in the muscles, and part of it is stored in the liver. So it is with any of the excesses will be deposited around your stomach walls, and that is why unapata mtu akona kwa tumbo mbili tires, I call it chain. You know, it's like you have two stomachs because of the excess of those fats and the carbohydrates. The vitamin and folic acid, remember, these ones are important for antioxidation. Every time we take a medication, we have substances that are not good for the body, they are non-food, and they're sometimes toxic to the system. So when we get in contact with air and with the cells, they bring out what we call oxidation. Every time you eat any food, it first reports where? To the brain. Say brain? Yeah, brain. First report to the brain, like, you know, I'm here, have a rib in your home, because your brain is the engine of your system. What happens if someone's brain cells die? We usually say this person is having a stroke, this person is unconscious, this person is in a coma. And truly, when the brain has been affected, totally everything in the body kind of stops. The heart, yes, may continue beating, but this person may not be able to speak. This person may not be able to look normally like the way alikuwa anafanya. This person may not be able to move around. This person may not be able to walk, you know. So it's important that we intake such, which is still a concern in terms of public health, in terms of vitamin A, C, and E. And it's good, please get through the sources. You'll tell me when we interact, the sources of vitamin A, C, and E, and other minerals such as calcium that are important for the system. Overweight and obesity, which are estimated to affect over a third of the population, is also an important contributing factor for disease and disability. Remember, sometimes people say that, you know what, I've suffered so much in life, so much because God has blessed me now. I have money. I have a lot of money. What is it for? It's to be utilized. It's for use. Pesa ni ya kutumika, and you find them eating carelessly. You know, you eat a lot of proteins, you eat a lot of carbohydrates, you eat a lot of junk food, yet you're just distracting and destroying your own life. Yeah. I hope I'm not too fast for you. Yeah, we are trying to look at why is it important to know about public health nutrition. And the first reason we are giving that is that adequate nutrition is for all. Sorry, adequate nutrition for all is able. And we also said dietary factors are associated with 5 of 10 leading causes of death. So that plays a major role. That is what I was trying to explain. And thirdly, another importance of fasting public health nutrition is because maternal and child nutrition sets the stage for life. I've already mentioned that from conception, if the mother is feeling well, it will pass on to the fetus, and as the child is born, excuse me, as the child has been born, this child will be undernourished already. This child is likely to suffer from malnutrition, especially undernutrition. And again, if this mother overfed, did a lot of energies and was not resting, was not like exercising and doing a lot of fatty foods, a lot of the carbohydrates, likely to give to an overweight child. That children who are born with overweight, and it's very difficult to correct childhood obesity. It's always good for the mother to watch out and to be advised so that they can be able to know what is required. Again, when children are growing, like if you have children around you, Maybe they are for your siblings or your uncles or your friends or you as, you know, what happens when you get from work or from out there, you are visiting those families and you get to meet these children. What do? We get them lollipops. What else do you carry them? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you find that we carry this stuff, you know, we carry lollipops, we carry the letters, we carry amigos, we carry, I don't know, you know, funny stuff, very sugary, and they're not even good for the children. We carry chips. What if a father or a mother comes with chips in the evening from work? You want to please your child, and food has just been served. There is a skuma wiki there, or there are managus there on the table. Will the child eat managu ugali, or the child will eat chips? And if this becomes a habit, when will you have this to eat healthily? Because chips is just junk. We call them empty calories because there is nothing that it benefits the body with. Remember, chips is from waru, and the Irish potatoes are actually, yes, they give carbohydrate, but they have no many other nutrients. They don't bear much nutrients. And the fats that have been used, remember, it has been different. So by the time you feed this child on these, you're just training the child to eat junk. Again, what do most parents pack for their children while going to school? If I pack my child nduma or ngwashe, you know, or ratoke, and the child goes with such to school, how will others look at her or him? Most of the time, we are used to giving children bajia. We're giving them, you know, sausages. We're packing for them eggs, bread, mandazi, cakes. All these are not nutritious. But now, because we're meant to get used to that, when they carry what is nutritious, others will be like, what are you carrying? What kind of food is that? You know, and I guess that feedback by looking at others who are eating things that seem to be what important. Childhood is the time when your food preferences and habits are shaped. So we need to teach them, and it's all about us. Before then, remember as a mother, when the mother has delivered, breastfeeding should go up to at least 2 years because it has been recommended in benefits to infants and even mothers. Maybe this one will expose it more as we continue learning. So we need to measure issues on maternal and child. Then another reason why we need to learn about nutrition, public health nutrition, is that vulnerable subgroups are at high risk for nutritional problems. Vulnerable groups are like the elderly, you know, those that are living in marginal areas. When unasema serikali saidia, you know, the pregnant lactating mothers, children under the age of 5 years, people living with chronic illnesses like the diabetic, those who are HIV positive, those who have TB, you know, those are vulnerable population groups. We need to learn so that you know how to take such groups. Remember, we say that our aim of public health nutrition is prevent diseases and promote good health amongst people. Another reason why public health nutrition is important is about behavior changing, which is challenging. Remember, once you're used to a behavior, changing it is usually quite difficult. It takes a while. It is actually said in psychology that someone takes about 3 months to change from one behavior to another. So if you're used to doing junk foods, it may not be something that will be like in a snap of a finger and you stop. Look at people who smoke. Yes, assuming that maybe they have learned that smoking is bad. Do they leave it once and for all? Usually they struggle because they keep craving for it. It's a habit they had been used to. You find them going to the toilets and hiding or other places in the bushes. They'll try to change, but it's not easy. But then, as public health practitioners or people who are advocating for good health amongst people, we need to ensure that we keep encouraging the community to adopt what is good, change their behaviors and adopt good lifestyles, do the behavior change so that at the end of the day, they can make the best out of their lives. Lastly, we want to look at the objectives of public health nutrition. And the major objective about public health nutrition is that it serves communities and individuals within them by providing an array of essential services. Many of these services are invisible to the public. typically, the public only becomes aware of the need for public health nutrition services when a problem develops, that is like when there's an epidemic that has occurred, like right now when you're having the issues of corona. So basically, the view of public health nutrition is to serve communities and individuals in them in providing an array of essential services to house and washing facilities, whether it's corona or not. Let there be hand washing facilities in communities, in different homes. Yeah. And many of these services are invisible to the public. Yes, we do much, like the immunizations, it's the area of the public health, doing the vaccinations, doing the vitamin A supplementation, doing the deworming, the list is long. So typically the public will only become aware of the need of public nutrition services when there is an epidemic. Like right now, the epidemic on corona, everyone is like, now what else should we eat? What should I do so that I avoid, being a victim of this, So basically the first topic, we're looking at the introduction to public health nutrition, by looking at definitions of different terminologies that are applied in this discipline, importance of public health nutrition, and the objectives of public health nutrition, of which basically we've looked at the definitions of the word health, we've looked at public health, we've looked at public health nutrition, and the different ways in which it's applied and the importance in our communities in relation to nutrition. We've looked at the problems related with public health nutrition. We've also been able to look at the importance of knowing public health nutrition, like having the knowledge on public health nutrition, of which we've looked at several of them, actually so 5 of them in number, and I've been able to expound more on them. And lastly, we've looked at the objectives of public health nutrition. So should you have any question, please feel free to contact me. Feel free to engage in our live class, and we shall be able to engage more. So enjoy the rest of your learning. Have a blessed time.